Hey everybody, this is Peter Mariani, and this is Peter and Friends Live Hangout.
Hi.
Just getting back in the swing of things and quirks and all. If there's any technical problems, sorry about that. But yeah, so I'm gonna go from left to right. First, we have somebody named Darkenmarr.
Hi.
Otherwise known as Sandy.
Yes. Easier to say.
Hi, how you doing? It's been a long while.
It has. Okay, I'm trying to figure things out really quick. Yeah, I've just kind of been doing my own thing for a bit, just trying to find my place in the world.
Yeah. Well, it's great to have you here, and so we'll just say hello to the other person in the room, Greg.
Hey, Peter. How are you?
Hey.
Haven't talked to you in a long while.
Yeah. Well, we're all reconnecting here. This is all about. Yeah. So you know, if you haven't watched any of my recent videos, sort of getting back into the swing of things and posting more videos and being more interactive and catching up with other friends. I got projects I'm going to be working on. One of them before me is called Down, that I'll be inking over pencils by Thomas Tenney. And yeah, I got mutual projects and my own creations I want to get back into. Yeah, I'm trying to make an effort to be more consistently uploading to YouTube, and I figure I'll randomly probably do hangouts like this when it's convenient for people to come and join me. Yeah, I probably should have called this Studio Synergy.
Probably.
Maybe I'll correct it in the once it goes up onto YouTube, process and all that. But yeah, I used to do the Studio Synergies all the time, and those were a heck of a lot of fun. But yeah, so one of the new things is I still got to fix it. I put up a screen door. I got a small ass apartment. Since me and Lisa broke up a couple years ago, my fiance, we're still like the best of friends. So I got a small apartment. It's considered a 0-bedroom because it only has a bathroom door and no other doors, just doorways. And for the life of me, I don't know. I was trying to figure out what the heck to do. I was going to put up some cloth or something to block the cats from coming into my studio space. And I finally figured, well, we'll just get a screen door and sort of divide the area in this way. That keeps them on their side. And it seems to be working. I'm sort of testing it out. It's not fully up. I just have it jammed up against the wall right now. But my other cat, Cleo, she just wants to go out. So I let her out before the hangout. And yeah, I mean, that's like the challenge of my life.
Sure.
Dealing with cats. So what are you up to? You mentioned you might be doing the D100 challenge.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long-term, like off and on thing with health problems and different shakeups over the last 6-8 months. It's been really like that long, and I'm finally kind of on the road to at least some kind of predictability about that stuff. So with that in mind, And a lot of people asking about the book that I do with my friend, you know, when's the second one coming out? When's the second one coming out? It's been like 3, 4, whatever years. I decided that it would be a good way to use 100-day challenge to get back into that book, and you know, and just start making pages. So I got I got this camera, this slightly better Logitech webcam, so that I could shoot artboard. I figured like I gotta have a decent, at least, you know, a camera that can focus in on artwork decently. So I got that and a couple of lights, and it's gonna be pretty soon. I still want to have a couple of things in place before I start, because what I don't want to have is, you know, like a day, I don't want to have a thing where it's like, oh, I haven't made a video in a couple of weeks because reasons. Like, no, like if you're going to do it, you got to stick to it no matter what. So I just want to have a few things in place where I know it's going to work, and then I kick it off, because you can start it whenever you want. It's just, but once you're into it, you know, it's really, it does no good for you, I think, or for oneself to then, you know, allow other stuff to break it off. You know, I think that's how you undermine the purpose of what you're trying to do for yourself with it. So so it may be July, it might be August, and then I'll start hammering through.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. You know, it's like I've done it once successfully. I attempted it other times. It's just like, you know, you really need a block of 3 months.
Yeah, I've failed multiple times, so it's like, do I try again or never?
Well, that's fairly extreme in options, but there's probably an option or two in the middle of that wavelength. Probably.
Yeah, I've tried it like 3 times, and life have always gotten in my way.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, third time's the charm.
Yeah, maybe. You know, the other thing too is that I'm not doing it every single day. I mean, that's not happening. I'm going to be doing it probably no more than 3 days a week, which might or might not be breaking some cardinal rule about it. But
no.
you know, yeah, but that's because there's no way that that's going to be feasible on a 5-day-a-week basis or something. But I figure, you know, but that's part of what I'm talking about too, about like trying to come up with the schedule that makes the most sense, that will not end up, you know, being unrealistic and actually produce the results. So that's why I'm trying to iron out that stuff. But yeah, it won't take too long. I mean, I'm not going to let it take too long, because otherwise nothing will happen.
Yeah. As a reminder for anybody watching it doesn't know, I mean, you know, most of my friends watching are D100 aficionados. But it's a 100-day challenge created by Kevin Cross, where you work 30 minutes a day on your comic, and you could you know, sort of promote it or do it however you want. Some people have done it as blogs. Some people have done it as just like a weekly video update.
Right.
And I mean, you know, you could pretty much post on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you want about it, and do it whatever system works best for you. It's just, when it comes right down to it, it just means work 30 minutes a day on your comic. And yeah, it's like, I really want to get back to doing that, but I want to get a bunch of other things, like you said, set in place before I allow time to focus on that.
Yeah, it's really, I think it's just really important to kind of make sure there's more to it than just simply doing it, like or saying like, okay, it's time to do it, let's go, rah rah. And it's like, nope. I mean, I think, you know, part of what all of these things are that we're doing, I think, are, you know, even getting together like on these kind of ad hoc things, is we're trying to negotiate Whoa.
Is that me?
I don't know, but it sounded like warp drive going by.
Yeah.
That's my air conditioning, so I'll turn off my sound.
Oh, that was kind of funny.
Yeah, it sounded more like a tractor trailer went by your window, and it had some audio parallax happen. You know, I think what we're trying to do is we're always trying to engender success for ourselves, right? And I think the best way to do that, or to try to do that, is to do as much pre-planning as much as, you know, just getting into it. You know, like, I think it's just really important, you know, that we try to do that.
And my issue is getting my story written first, because I want to make sure I have a solid script before I get started.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
well, yeah, I mean, it's fundamental to the process. Yeah, for sure.
oops.
All right, I turned off my AC, so it will be 1,000 degrees here soon. But...
Oh, don't suffer.
No, no, man, it's not going to matter. I mean, if people can't
need it, use it.
Yeah, I just do what you got to do, man.
I got an overhead fan, so that's something. You know, I could always take off my shirts and some.
I'll be fine. Don't worry about me.
It's okay, just melting like a popsicle.
I'm
all right.
I'm all right.
Slimer.
So Sandy, you mentioned before the hangout something about you want my inking skills for some reason.
Yes, like
I did hear that.
Yeah, your inking is just so cool. I wish I had that skills and talent.
Well, you're an amazing artist. You don't need extra skills. Otherwise, you'll destroy the world.
I need all the skills.
All the skills. All the skills for me.
Must get all the skills.
Well, you know, it's years of doing just inking, so.
Yeah, but still, at least you're doing it. Like, I'm so happy for you that you're doing it as a job and just doing so good at it.
Well, you know, we have high hopes for this book, and we have interest in, you know, Thomas and the writer Mark are going to be doing a lot of conventions, promoting the heck out of it. Oh, we got a co-artist whose name recently, Sean Surface. Actually, somebody I've known online for years. Super happy he's going to be coloring it. Somebody's music.
Yeah, that was my phone going off. I'm like, shh, quiet phone.
But yeah, it's you know, when it comes right down to like what I want to do is work on my own creations, but I want to sort of finance people working for me, because I want to do a number of books and sort of be like a small, you know, sort of Marvel Universe kind of thing. You know, not because I know how to do it best or whatever. It's just because I want to do it. And you know, so I got like a small list of characters, and I want to do different books, and have some friends join me, and you know, if I can finance it and get it sort of rolling, and it funds itself, then all the better. I don't want to have to worry too much about client work. But you know, I'm also at the point where, you know, I'm not going to take anything I want to be working on, and I got something else I'll be starting next month with somebody else, and yeah, you know, it's like when you're really start rolling with a lot of work, more people get in contact with you to give you work, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna have to stop the train at some point.
Yeah, it's like have a waiting list.
Yeah. but I do want to, I want to get back into like doing commissions. Haven't really put the word out. That's always fun. It's like as a business, I've sucked throughout the years, and I'm like, the more I do this, the more I'm realizing, wow, I really have to gain control of where things are at per se. It's like working for publishers is not a problem. It's like you do the work, you get paid, you move on. But sort of creating your own business, something else entirely, and you have to put more sort of systems in place because I'm a one-man operation, and I realize I'm falling short in so many ways.
Yeah, that's how it usually is.
Yeah. And then I see, like professionals, and I follow them around, and they're like, oh, sorry, if I owe you something, message me. It's like, I don't want to do that. It's like if I don't know I owe you something, then that's a real problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because then people can come in and say, hey, you owe me something, and it's like, do I really?
Yeah, here's a Superman sketch. There you go. I did want to mention, if you're on the internet today, if you're watching this live or watching this later today, the biggest news is Steve Ditko has passed away, and frankly, everybody's mentioning it. Since I follow mostly artists, everybody's talking about it. I never met the guy, but yeah, I mean, if you don't know Steve Ditko, who he is, he created Spider-Man, Creeper, bunch of characters. Maybe Hawk and Dove, I forget.
Yeah, Hawk and Dove and Shade the Changing Man.
The original.
Yeah, he made a bunch of kind of short-term jumps around, like even during the underground period, he was one of the first of his generation to self-publish or to publish through an independent publisher. Mr. A and Avenging World, where he got to kind of throw a lot of his Ayn Rand kind of philosophies, and then he jumped around a lot. He did a bunch of issues of ROM. I remember that. He did a bunch of backups for different Pacific Comics stuff, like in the first 3 issues of Rocketeer. He had a character in there. He jumped around a lot, and he always managed to. And he had that like latter day relationship with Marvel. I think when you were working for Valiant in the '90s, he was pulled back in to do. Like he actually agreed to do some work at Marvel, and he was getting some piecemeal stuff for a while back then. So
it's I mean, I every once in a while something new would pop up that of his work that I never saw before. It's like, what's this? When did he do this?
Yeah.
It's just the other day. I think yesterday, whatever it was. My brother posted that he worked over Steve Ditko. I think it might have only been a pinup. I'm not entirely sure, but I thought that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, because there was a short period of time where Marvel he was getting steady work out of Marvel, but it wasn't like consistent title stuff. It was sort of like it was sort of fill-in work.
Yeah.
But I mean, like considering his age at that point, that was a pretty good deal. I mean, but and then the whole last like 20 years, he's been working on it. He had his own books, and Robin Snyder was publishing for him, who he's had a relationship with, publishing relationship with for an enormous amount of time. And those were self-financed, and then more recently had some pretty decent success with Kickstarters, you know, which again was kind of unusual because I think everybody had an idea of Ditko being kind of a Luddite. Although I'm sure that's not totally untrue, but I think Robin Snyder was able to, you know, convince him that it was a worthwhile way to do it.
Mm.
And there were like, I think there was like over 50 of those books. Like he did like 4 or 5 a year. And people were buying them pretty regularly. So
yeah.
So he was actually working into his 80s. In fact, they had put out, the last book they put out was only like maybe, it was this year. I believe the last one was at some point after January 2018. So literally he was working on his own comics until practically he died.
Wow.
Yeah. And he died at 90, right? So
yeah.
So it's pretty amazing. No matter whether people liked him, didn't like him, he was a very stern and very terse person and had an extremely rigid philosophy about things that I think put off a number of people, but his work and his work ethic were extremely solid. So
yeah, I mean, you know, it's when it comes down to it, I don't care about the person. I mean, you know, it's like I'd love to meet a lot of creators I've followed throughout the years, but when it comes to personality, it's like, hey, whatever makes them click to do this amazing work, that's fine by me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know I defended like Joe Quesada for years. Like people will come up to me, oh, I hate him. You know, Joe's an amazing artist. Whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, I usually go by artists as well.
You know,
Or by their art, not by like. I don't blame the art for its creator.
Yeah. So we have viewers. Let's see. Do we have? You could type in the chat if you have any questions or you want us to talk about something. There's no theme to this. We're just going live and talking about stuff. So let me ask Greg. I'll put the screen on you.
Sure.
What's this piece? What's it for?
This was just this is like what I do when I am getting started.
It's your warm up.
This is warm up stuff, and so I've been filling this up for a few days. I actually was using it also for video testing on my you know, for my new camera. So basically, it's been that too. But like when I do these. I don't do any penciling. So all of this, I mean, with this exception here and this exception here, because I literally started to get exhausted mentally. And I was like, I didn't think it out in my head about where the arm was going to be and where this was going to be. So by the way, this is because I have a series of cuts on my hand from a cat.
Oh no!
So but it's not because I'm like Dr. Art or something, you know.
Yeah, like he's not wanting to smudge his artwork.
It's I mean, I've done that before, but to be perfectly honest, it's really just because I don't want to risk any infection or anything else going on. So because some of them are kind of deep gashes. Anyway, so what happens is that I will start somewhere. It doesn't. In this case, it was this one that I did first, it was this one I did first. Second, it was the middle of the page. But what I'll do is I'll just take any piece of paper. It doesn't matter the size or whatever, Bristol, and I will use, you know, I use my classic, you know, dip pens and stuff and ink, and I'll just dip the pen in and then just start drawing a face, right? And this is old school stuff because this goes back to when I was a teenager, because I was trying to draw better, and an art teacher who actually really liked comics, which for people in Peter and my generation that's like pretty rare. That's like mythological, I think. because it took a while for everybody to get on board with comics. It seems like. Basically said, like, if you want to learn how to draw better, the best thing to do is to take a piece of paper, and in his case, he would say, like, you know, take a ballpoint pen maybe or something, but like literally just think of the drawing in your head first and start executing the drawing as if you had drawn a pencil drawing, and attempt to do, you know, as good a draw. No, not scribbling, not sketching like you do with a pencil. Right.
Right.
Actually try to draw as if you've already done the pencil drawing, but have that in your mind while you're making your lines, and just like try as hard as you can not to mess up. Right. Which is like, oh yeah, you're 45 and I'm, you know, 15 years old, like not like, yeah, I'll just do that. And it was a mess. It was always a mess, but you know, like it actually got I got to the point where I could draw a fairly competent for my level drawing because of the stress of trying to do it right without the pencils right from the beginning. And so like, that's the kind of thing, right? But I do it with the ink, you know, with fluid ink, because it's even harder, and because I'm trying to like get in that groove. It's sort of it's like to force me into getting into that groove as hard as possible, and then, you know, I always end up making problems for myself that I have to figure out and overlap characters, and then it's just really doodling, right? Like, you know, crazy hairy guy, and who's this one with the knife, and the knife's all screwed up, but I don't care because I'm just gonna let it go too, right? And fill with cross hatching and monster guy or whatever, you know, like, but basically no pencils, and really try to keep a clean line. And that's what I found to be a really great way to keep my skills up, and also to unblock, because it had been a while since I'd been doing serious drawing. I've done client work like storyboards and some other crap, but that's not for me, right? So like, I mean, like, meaning like that stuff is done for them. So for me to just do that is not too hard, but for me to do stuff for me can be very hard. And so this is a way to kind of you know, get things unmoored and break off a lot of that concrete block, you know, around my feet, and get moving, you know. So I was going to do another one tonight while I was while we were talking.
Yeah, it's definitely a good challenge. You know, not too long ago, somebody was telling me they were doing just like ink drawings, I guess, on their Instagram or something. They just like were forcing themselves to not pencil, but just draw in ink, essentially.
Yeah, it's a really valuable thing to do.
Yeah, I draw with fine ballpoint pens a lot.
Yeah, that can be a tool that can be used the exact same way for sure, because it's an indelible point, so it's gonna require the same thinking, right? Yeah, for sure. So
we got one comment. Captain Uchi, however you say his name, he says, "Hey guys, how's everyone?"
Doing good.
That's Adam, I believe. I could be wrong. He's gonna kill me.
monikers.
He's an artist. He does a lot of Sonic artwork. He wants to get to do a Sonic comic book one day.
Well, hey,
so
man.
That's very cool.
Sorry.
No problem. That's very cool. That's definitely like what you drew there was like, you know, that could be an Avengers group, you know, a group of weirdos per se. But
No, that's absolutely true. They are weirdos for sure. Yeah. Well, the other thing is that sometimes what'll happen is, you know, ideas will come out of it beyond just the pure visual doodling of it, right? Like sometimes something. There are things that come out of it, like that might end up in something else later, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, I think, you know, there's a lot of emphasis in, especially the way things are online, with like, learn how to draw this, learn how to draw that, and you've really got to, you know, there's everything. It seems that there's a huge emphasis on, you know, you've got to execute work that is for a purpose and is going into a thing, or you have to learn how to draw for stuff that is going into a purposeful thing, like, let's say, I don't know, pre-production art or whatever they call it, you know, where there's a lot of folks who are sort of really immersed in that, like, and they're very obsessed about learning how to do that stuff.
Just like character design. You could simply, yeah.
Right. Well, the thing is, like, the at least in my experience over many years, is that you also have to do a certain amount of drawing that is for the purpose of just breaking through and discovering. Right. You can't.
Yeah.
It can't always be just for a purpose. Like, I'm going to design a, you know, robust dwarven warrior. Like, it's like, sure, but the thing is, like, there's a point at which there's a kind of it becomes a vacuum sucking on its own hose, and it's just, and you start doing the same stuff over and over again. You know what I mean? Like, all the faces start looking the same, and the subject matter starts looking the same. And I think it's necessary to also do some stuff that's completely free associative, using the skills that you've built, like real drawing, real, you know, texture, real inking, whatever, but to allow yourself to free associate a little bit, and, you know, see what happens out of that too. I think if you don't do both, you start to get really rigid, and your concepts start feeding on each other, and I think it starts to, you know, it starts to get really stale. So part of this is also so that I don't get stale, right, with and sort of try to stimulate myself idea-wise, right?
Yeah. Oh, very cool.
Thanks.
So, Sandy.
Yes.
What you working on?
I'm actually working on a commission. This is a commission for a gentleman. His name is Isaac Bell, and he's a freelance illustrator based down in Denver, Colorado. And he's doing his own comic book, and this is one of his characters. I believe her name is Serene.
Cool.
But then he has another character named Vexa, and I met him when I went down to Acon. And he loved my big-headed style, and he wanted to see what his characters would look like at it. And he gave me 2 options, but the problem is both the characters are really freaking awesome. And so it's like, which character do I choose? So I'm kind of drawing her for right now, but I'm thinking about surprising him and doing his other character as well, just because I love both of his characters and I want to support his art. I'm going to pop him up on my screen so I can promote him. But yeah, he kind of invited me to possibly work on an anthology with his characters and stuff. But his artwork is just hyper detailed and so cool. He reminds me of Kenneth Rockefort or Michael Turner in a way.
A little bit.
Where is it? Yeah, see his like hyper detail in his inking and stuff. But yeah, he was a really cool guy, and I'm trying to see if I can find. Oh, here's one of his other character. I believe, what was her name? Yeah, Vexa. But yeah, his characters are just so neat. So it's like I can't decide which character I want to draw, so I'm just drawing this one right now. But I might end up drawing him, both of them, just because he was so neat and friendly when I met him, and all the awesome positive things he said about my artwork. It really helped. You know me, I doubt my artwork a lot.
You're
and
crazy.
He had a lot of positive stuff to say, so it really kind of gave me a little bit of a boost.
That's my positive thing to say. You're crazy.
I'm sorry.
Your work is amazing. You got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, but when you're told no like 10 years in a row, it just tears you down.
You know, you just gotta get your work out there. I mean, these kind of things help, like, you know, doing hangouts and being videos and whatnot.
Being more social and stop
Yeah,
being so antisocial like I am.
yeah. I mean, you know, there's advantages to that. You get more work done.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing too. It's like my doubt in my artwork really stops me from doing artwork too a lot.
Mm.
But I'll figure it out someday.
You know, it's tough sometimes. It's like, you know, I know, you know, since I broke up with Lisa and got my own place, life has been more challenging. And it's like, you know, I knew it was challenging with her because we're in a relationship, and you know, it wasn't always going great at times. But I forgot what it was to be single again. It's like you know, I'm in charge of everything. It's like I gotta get shit done, or nobody else is gonna do it. You know.
Yeah, you're not used to doing stuff on your own.
You know, I mean, we're together 5 years, and that's, you know, it doesn't seem like a long time, but what, like, man, you just forget things so easily, and
Yeah, I think
so
in my case, if I had that one person there, it'd motivate me more. But
well, that kind of thing definitely helps. You know, I mean, that's my ultimate dream is to have a studio to where, you know, to me it will be optional if I want to show up or not. You know, because some days I could just like head down and get a lot done. Other days it's like, man, I wish there was a group of artists around where I could just, you know, feed off of. And you know, sometimes the online community could do that. Other times, you know, I mean, Facebook is gone through weird changes. It used to be such a positive place, and now it's total wreck.
yeah, I haven't found a good place to go to yet because there's just so much negativity everywhere.
Yeah,
And it's like, I'm negative enough as it is. I don't need your negativity on top of everything else.
The world has gone nuts. But that's why I have our little chat group. You know, it's like it's not what it was, but it's a place where people can post artwork and at least throw comments like, "Hey, that's pretty cool."
Yep. I'm gonna have to try and get on there sometime.
I found for me it was starting the group for Vermont comic creators in my state with Mike Wagner, who I think you might know from self-published indie circles, Peter. But I know he knows who you are. But we started 3 years ago, and we just basically founded this community through a Facebook group, and it's still in the Facebook group. And then we meet once a month or more if we can. And I just definitely encourage people to, use the tools out there and get get closer to people as much as you can. If you're from a big enough state, although Vermont is certainly far from a big state, and we have 180 members. So I would say that, wherever you live, if you start a Facebook group and literally name it like Pittsburgh Comic Creators Group, or,
I wonder if that would work here. I'm in like the middle of nowhere in the prairies of Wyoming.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say start Wyoming Comic Creators Group, right? And name it that, because that's how people find it, because it's that simply named. And the results have been phenomenal for all of us, because we're in a very small state where I think it's fairly safe to say, like, everybody was like, I had no idea this was going on, or people were making this stuff in it. And even in that small area, you know, we found each other. We had to find each other through Facebook, right? So I would just encourage, definitely, like, just, you know, make that effort and see who finds it. Because it will take advantage of some of the Facebook algorithm stuff, and anybody else in Wyoming who's listed comics or is making comics, it's going to start shoving that group as a potential, like, you may be interested in this group, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and also it's not hard to find out who's making comics in your state too, because most of them all go to the comic book stores or the art supply stores, and a little bit of flyering can go a long, long way for that too.
So Greg is saying we should stalk people who go to comic stores.
I was going to say, like, what comic book stores?
Well, I'm just saying whatever is available to you, whatever is available to you. I mean, even if it's like, even if the only place where people get comic book or like drawing supplies is like Michael's, see if Michael's would let you put up
I don't
a
even
flyer
have a
at the
Michael's
store. Right. So then what you do is you use the internet to your advantage. And what I did to get the first 30 members of our group was I did a cold search of Vermont comic book drawing, Vermont comic book creator, Vermont comic book maker.
Yeah.
I did all those searches, and I came up with most of the people who were our first few members. And then the people that I've known for many years, I mean, those were the initial members too, and they got their friends in, and somebody would be like, oh, you should talk to blah, blah. And I'd be like, hey, blah, blah, I'm a friend of, we have this person in common.
Yeah.
This is a thing we're trying to do, and would you be into it? Can I invite you in? And then they say yes, and pretty soon, in the first year, we had like, I don't know, 60 members, and then now we got almost 200 members, right?
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, it's doable, and even if all you end up with is 10 members, and you guys get together once or twice a month, and you have a good Facebook group, and the thing I would encourage is make your group closed. Do not have an open to the air group. Have it a closed group. Vet your members. Ask them really important questions about what they're making.
Mm-hmm.
And because we have a questionnaire, you can't get into our group unless you fill it out, right?
Yeah.
Because we're hunting for spam, but we're also seeing if somebody's in there because they're just interested in hanging with other people who do it, and they're not really going to do it, because that's not the type of person we want in the group. So you vet your members, and then pretty soon you've got a group of people who are only interested in talking to each other about the craft and posting and communicating. And pretty soon it's like, hey, we're going to have our first one next month in blah, blah pizzeria. And people love it, and then they get into it, you know, and then they expect it every month and stuff like that. So,
oh, I'll give it a try, and I'll keep my fingers crossed. But a lot of the places here, it's just mainly sculpting, traditional cowboy recreational artwork.
right.
You never know until you try if anyone's into comic books and stuff, I guess. So.
Well, the other thing is you have to kind of be willing to be flexible to potentially something that might be off from what you're doing. Like, for instance, it might be a good idea to another thing you can do is contact writers groups and see if that's something, you know, because a lot of people want to get into making comics.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different possibilities of how to do it.
Okay.
But yeah. I mean, like, and in the end too, you have to figure, like, it takes time to build a community, and it takes time to sort of root them out. But it's hard to imagine that in the entire state of Wyoming that you're the only person who wants to make comics.
Yeah,
that would be hard
it's
to
just
imagine.
We're so spread out. Getting together is what's going to be hard.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. And then in that case, use something like Google Hangouts to your advantage, and at least have that to look. Because the other thing we do is we have a Google Hangout critique group every Wednesday night. So people who can't get together physically or don't do the shows together or whatever, you know, we have.
Oops, sorry.
we have that option as well, you know.
Mhm.
And I would totally encourage anybody to take that on too. Like that's another really great way to do it. Because anybody can come on a hangout, as Peter has, you know, shown everybody for years. You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
All right, so I got a
Sorry.
message. I'm gonna go to 8:30. When did we start? I don't forget now.
we started around 10 after 7.
Okay, so yeah, 8:30 is good. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So first of all, we had a question. Well, first of all, okay. Chubby Donut said hi.
Hi, Chubby Donuts. I love that name. That's great. Oh my goodness, it's great.
Did any of you guys ever have a table at a con? I have. You guys want to talk first about that?
Have a what?
A table at a convention.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your experience? Sam?
You want me to go first?
Yeah. If
Well,
you want.
Well, I've had 3 different tables, and each time I've tried a little bit something different. A big thing is trying to figure out what's popular at the time. And like you got to find out if the convention you're going to, if it caters towards the comics, if it caters towards anime, if it caters towards original artwork, and being careful with original artwork, because I split my table with my partners. I'm doing a visual novel game as well, but all that artwork is original characters, and that table made no sales, whereas the other half of the table, where I did a lot of like these silly big-headed characters, did decent. But I still did a lot of off-the-wall, not popular characters. Like my Marvel characters did well, but then again, there's like Steven Universe, there's what is that? Undertale, the gray-skinned, orange-horned, black-haired one. I think it's an online comic or something. But it's like finding out what's going to sell popular, because I barely broke even on my table.
Yeah, I mean, if you got a specific audience to your work, then you find a convention that matches that.
Yeah,
is like my 2 cents to that. You know, it's like, it's always usually like if you're publishing your own work and you got your own characters, it's good to throw in some popular characters, like, you know, small pinups or whatever. Almost nobody looks at, you know, independent publishers if they got nothing familiar.
Yeah, they'll walk up, look at your table, because they're only looking for that one specific character, and then they'll leave. They don't even give you a chance to say hi to them.
Yeah, it's like, where's Hellboy, or whatever.
Oh, I had so many questions like that. Do you have this character? Do you have this character? No. Okay, bye.
But you know, at the same time, it's like if you're creating your own universe or just working on your own comic, you know, it's like you just do an amazing piece that people can connect with, you know, and then at least you'll have a stem to start talking from. So, Greg, you've been to conventions, right?
I do 2 or 3 shows a year, and they're all local. Fortunately, I mean, relatively local. Like I like nothing. It's never any more than about an hour and a half drive away. So I'm kind of in a weird position with that, where you know, lucky position with that. I wouldn't be able to deal with more than that. So we have a couple of Vermont shows, and then there's a couple in upstate New York that are not too far away. So yeah, I mean, the thing is, the only stuff that I actually sell, I don't sell prints. I mean, I'll do commissions, but like, and
oh, sorry.
maybe you might want to turn off your ringer or something on whatever that is. But yeah, I think it's really hard on people who do prints because of the exact thing. I forgot who had said it, but something about how do you have this? And then if you don't have it, they just like walk away like, you're selling eggs or something, or, do you have pastrami sandwiches? No. Okay, bye. Like that sucks. Like, and that's a hard deal. Like, and I admire anybody that has to go through that all day at a table, because that takes a lot of fortitude to sort of like sit there and sort of get that kind of brush off thing. That's a lot of get back, like you got to reboot every 5 seconds when people kind of do that. I have my own book, and I sell commissions, and I sell my own original art. But I do heavy engagement as people are walking by my table, and like I sell my book within maybe, a minute or less, because of either people are going to like it or they're just like, they don't care about it, right? But I have to do that stuff to get people into what I'm doing. If I had to survive on the like existing character prints and stuff, I think that would be a little more like than I would want to take on for the amount of money that it produces. Because because people are fickle, and you don't know, it's hard to say what people are going to want other than Deadpool and probably half a dozen characters, But I think that for me, I think the same things that everybody has said. It's like you really need to know what show. I mean, first of all, you need to know what shows are around you close by that don't cost a lot for you to attend. So like the first shows that you should attend should be shows that you do not have to stay in a hotel for, right? And unless you like are in such a remote area that you have no choice, because that's going to blow away a lot of money.
That's me.
Right. So, and then at that point, you should be writing it off your taxes so that it's not actually coming out of your table, out of what you're making on your table anyway, right? Because that's the other thing that I find a lot of artists don't do, is that most artists are still not taking advantage of either a DBA business or even a hobby business, even just writing it off their own taxes, which they can do, the expenses of any of that stuff to do business. That's all write-off. So the idea that people are like, well, I made my table. Well, you didn't make your table because you had to pay to print books, and you had to work to make the objects that are on the table. So unless you're purely drawing commissions, you're stealing from the money that you need to make in order to pay off the book that you just produced. So there is no making table.
Yeah, that's where I was like breaking even, counting travel, hotel, printing.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Most people, when they say even they're breaking even, they're actually like not being truthful with themselves, and they're not really looking at the books and saying, no, this is not breaking even. Like I haven't even, I just stole from the print costs of my book. Yeah. Like, so, I mean, that's a side note, is like, you got to learn your tax stuff, and you got to learn how to write that off and take care of that.
Yeah. Taxes is a big thing.
Yeah. Not hard though. You can buy the Quicken for a home business, and it costs like next to nothing, and it'll do most of the work for you. But it's worth it to just take a local class on doing your own tax stuff, and you can learn everything you need. But yeah, like I would suggest like do only shows at first that are local to you, and do like if you have an existing book, and get it back into print. If you don't, make some minis. And if you have ideas for prints or like you have already stuff on your hard drive or in your sketchbook that could be turned into really solid, sellable print stuff, do that. But, unless you have a year or at least 6 months to prepare for a show, don't fall into the trap of like, oh, this is my first show, so I'm going to make a whole new book, and I'm going to have, all this whiz-bang merchandise. And it's like, no, you're not going to have that. And then it's going to be 2 weeks before the show, and you're going to be wondering what to do.
Me.
The best thing to do is to, assess what you have that could be turned like in a week into a set of merchandise by just like finishing the inking on a couple of things, getting it colored and printing them, or if you have an existing set of books or whatever, get that stuff together, and then go, okay, what are the shows that are going to be in my area that, or at least that I can get to in 6 months ahead. And then you say, okay, here's my plan. My plan is I'm going to do show X, show Y, show Z, in September and in October, and I'll have all this stuff ready for that. And that's where you do your test run. And your test runs are nothing to do with whether or not you're really going to make it in doing shows. That's the other thing. You got to be prepared to,
be prepared to fail.
Well, I wouldn't call it a failure. I would just say, but you got to be prepared to invest at least 3 or 4 experiences at doing shows before you know what even to have for those specific shows, and kind of what your limits are in terms of like what you can get together in a certain amount of time, because people have jobs and other responsibilities, right? So
James is in the chat. He's asking what nib is that. I'm pretty sure since you've been talking, it's been focusing on you. So what are you using?
This is a classic Hunt. What is this?
107, maybe? 8?
It's the ballpoint, the big globe. Yeah, this is like, Jesus, I don't have my glasses. I don't know if it's showing, lettering showing up there. I can't see. Gee, yeah, I need my glasses. Sorry. It's either the EF globe or the ballpoint Hunt. It's the big fountain pen. It's the cartoon fountain pen looking type nib, right?
Yeah, I mean that's like mine is.
I use a lot of different ones. So, yeah.
Simple 102 is what I'm using currently.
Yeah, you use a crow quill, right?
Yeah, it's a Hunt 102. Yeah, it's like
this is basically what I use. I use a really fine Japanese G pen. I use a hawk quill. I use this British nib that Barry Windsor Smith has been using for years, and it's really hard to find online, but I forgot the name. And I use this one. And sometimes I use a crow quill, but not very often.
Yeah, it's for a lot of people using a nib is difficult. I love it. It's like if I talked with Thomas, and he mentioned like, he had a contest to like get the inking job, and a lot of people were using brush, and I guess because he has a lot of detail, he thinks they should be using a quill, and it's like I don't make those decisions until I'm like playing. Like this is the first time I'm inking him, and I could see myself inking this page with a brush. Since I don't use a thick brush, it's a number 1, just like a Winsor Newton, and even if it's a lot of thin, hairy lines, I could still do that for the most part. Maybe I'll use a quill for the faces because that's usually like the toughest thing anyway, and maybe I use a rapidograph for like really extremely small detail. And my phone is blowing up, and yeah, I mean I hate
those comments.
Yeah, those are comments like, oh, shut up already. I only have my phone for a couple people, and there's no reason they should call me when I'm doing a live hangout. Don't they know better?
You think that's when you're popular, is when you're trying to get busy on doing stuff.
And yeah, I guess my friend doesn't know what live streaming is because she's coming on.
Wow.
But yeah, so I don't know what I was saying.
You're talking about the different stuff that you use.
Oh
to
yeah,
express others.
yeah. You know, I could really do a lot of this page, and maybe this is where I should flip it around so people could see it better. Even though I get to get an armature so I can put the camera over my work so you can see it better rather than at an angle where it's not totally clear. But you know, there's a lot of tiny details. I'll get a little closer. And I'm just sort of laying down lines right now, feeling my way around. You know, it's like in the best case scenario, I prefer to work over pencils because you lose something when you're working over blue lines, and that's why, you know, I make a black and white copy to see the pencil lines better. But even that is like, you know, because he's not an ultra tight penciler, there's a lot of interpretation that's necessary. And yeah, it's like I'll just play around, filling all the lines, and then really take a good look at it and go back in, probably with a brush and picking up some things, you know, for dimensional sake, for 3D sake. But yeah, it's like I love extensive detail, so this is right up my wheelhouse, as they say.
And are you still pretty much using the same tools that you've used for, like, you know, for the length of your career?
Pretty much, yeah. You know, I'm pretty sure I'm using exactly the same ink. You know, I prefer Pelican ink, but that's harder to find. But I forget what the heck I use. Higgins, just Higgins black ink. It's become thinner over the years. You know, the trouble with a lot of people going digital now is that specific art supplies, are harder to get or impossible to get, or, you know, they're not as good as they once were. But with Higgins ink, you know, it's like thinner than it used to be. But I tend to leave my bottles open, so some of the water evaporates and it becomes a thicker ink again. But I do like thin ink for quills because it goes on smoother.
Yeah, you have to. You know what I've been using now is this Kohinoor, the old Kohinoor yellow bottle, the dye base. I mean, you know, I know that like pigment's better than dye, but actually their dye based black is a better solid black than their old pigment black. And the thing is, it's really fluid. It's like almost like water, but it's not like it's not you know, it's extremely black, right? Like,
Yeah.
And I've been recently drawing with that more than anything. The other one I'm still using, although it's, you know, it's expensive, is this Holbein Special Black. This is still like totally great ink. So you might want to just play around with it sometime. Just buy a bottle and see if you like it, because their manufacturing standards are still like really, really tight.
I like, you know, sort of like matte finish ink. So if it comes out shiny, I really don't like it.
Then you might want to try the Black Star, the Dr. P.H. Martin Black Star ink, because they have one version that's gloss and one version that's matte, and it also has a high carbon, really, really, really intense black ink.
Well,
and that one's not too expensive either.
When it comes right down to it, Higgins works fine. So you know, it's like I'm not looking to get something else.
Yeah, I've had a lot of problems with Higgins rubbing off after racing. That's the primary reason why I went away from it was I was rubbing ink off, and I was just like, I don't have time for this anymore. I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the advantage of working over blue line is I don't have to raise fences.
Well, that's true. I mean,
saves me a step in that way. But God, I hate. It's like I have to go out of town to get the blue lines done because nobody in town knows how the hell to do it.
Oh, I see what you mean. You don't have your own printer, so you have to. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. You know, I had. Well, I never had a professional printer, so I guess it doesn't matter. But you know, it's something I'll buy one day, but I prefer just going to a copy shop personally. You know, like I just, you know, I try to go over the details with them, but they're just, you know, they
just can't get it. Like
they just work for local people that, you know, I want a copy. Here's a copy.
Yeah.
Nothing fancy.
We have a friend. I mean, one of the people in the comic group. She's been getting really great results out of a locally owned, you know, just quick copy store. But they're just really happy to play around with stuff, and they were like, "Oh, what's that? What's a blue line?" She was like, "Oh, well, it's this," and they were like, "Oh, this is great." So they were really stoked to like play around and mess around with something. But it's hard to find people that are willing to, you know, go outside of their little narrow focus when it comes to that stuff.
You know what it is? Is like all the people in the copy centers are not young per se.
Mm-hmm.
Not to beat up on old people, but but they're a little set in their ways. You know, it's like I'm not a young chicken. I know what I speak of, but.
No, but it's true. I mean, you get it's weird too because I don't know if you found this to be true, Peter, but I find that unless it's like big name company kind of copy center stuff, a lot of locally owned printers tend to be very conservative in their approaches to anything, and I think it's because they are more engineering and they're process driven. It's like, you know, we take the art, we shoot it with the stat camera or whatever you know what I mean? Like, it's like printing is almost like this thing that is it's very regimented and process like, and it kind of, I think it sort of reinforces that mindset.
Yeah.
So when you come at them and say like, well, what I want you to do is this really weird thing where you take this and you flip it over and you do that. And they're like, you can't do that. Like, you're like, no, you totally can. Cause I did it at this place over here. Nah.
Yeah, they just set in their ways.
Yeah. Unless you luck out, right? You know, young people who work at like Staples and stuff, they are the best. They're the ones who they'll try anything. And the best place to go is like, go to a Staples or a UPS print store and go at like, if they have late night hours, go to the late night shift because those folks, they're like itching to do something interesting. And that's where you take advantage of it. I guarantee you that's how I've done it a bunch of times. It's like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like find the place that's open till midnight, and I swear to you, like whoever's on the night shift will be like, "Oh yeah, cool, let's do it." You know.
When I just went the other day, they were very accommodating of me, like just taking up space and trying to figure things out on my own. You know, they got me a chair. They said, "Do you need anything?" You know, they were very accommodating that way. But,
awesome.
They really didn't have a clue what I was doing. Last time I went there, same place, there was a young kid who knew what comic books were, who knew a bit about the process, who like really like knew what the heck he was doing.
Right.
But I think he's no longer there. So.
Yes. Well, they realized that he was interested in things and was having fun, and they decided that they were going to have none of that.
No,
they're like, "Sorry, kid. We
You're
don't
too
like
forward
them.
thinking. You gotta leave.
We don't like them newfangled ideas of yours.
Who knows? Hopefully not. Hopefully he's got a better job. But you know, it's always a big staff. Who knows? Maybe he's just there. Wasn't there at the moment. But yeah, it's oh man, it's I'm trying to get a better handle on having to deal with receiving a digital file of you know of the artwork. And actually, one of the things I figured out while I was there, like I had my laptop that I brought just in case, which thank God I did, because otherwise I would have been screwed. I don't have any art programs other than what comes with Windows on my laptop. And I realized, like, not only was the file in a PDF, which I couldn't extract myself. Luckily, the girl knew that part. You know, and that's probably just a simple thing. Greg probably knows how to do that. But I realized, like, it wasn't in blue. Like, you know, the artwork was in black and white. I had to make it blue, and it's like, okay, don't panic. You know, Lisa was with me, and she's like, you know, just figure it out. You'll figure it out. Because I was just getting pissed off. Like, oh man, you know, it's like we took us an hour to get here. We're you know already spending a half hour with these people trying to figure this out. But yeah, I actually downloaded an art program that I knew and made the lines blue. It's like I figured it out. Because, you know, it's like I usually fake things, and it's like, I can't fake this. If I do it wrong, it's not going to work. It's like, you know.
Unfortunately, there's some really good free photo editors out there. I mean, I hate GIMP, and I would never use it anyway. But, I mean, there's other alternatives, I think, that are better designed for artists to use. But, and simpler ones, too, for people who don't need a ton of features.
Isn't there one called Krita or something like that?
Yeah. Krita, I don't know if you can do things like a hue saturation change on a layer, but you probably can. Yeah. I have a friend that uses it a lot.
Yeah, I never really tried it.
I hear really good things about it.
It's a great program.
I have a Manga Studio, but I mostly use Medibang.
Don't know it.
Oh, Medibang?
Medibang, yeah. Medibang Paint Pro. I'm just comfortable with it. I don't know everything about it, but it's like it dawned on me I can download it to the laptop and play around with the file there, and that's where I figured out, okay, I could just do a layer and this and that. So I got the job done, and then we went out to eat, and all was good with the world.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, you know, it's just about, you know, doing your file preparation before you go out to your print center and stuff like that. I mean,
yeah, it's, you know, it's just like, I thought I had all the time in the world. That Lisa was supposed to come in the afternoon, like, because I don't drive, I don't have my own car, so I'm on somebody else's schedule. Then I said, okay, let's just go, and let me worry about it there. And that's what happened.
I mean, that's the way it goes, man.
Yeah.
You know, and doing stuff on the fly is what it's all about.
Yeah. It's the pressure of being a freelance artist.
I mean, for me, I have to have my stuff. I have to have my setup, and I have a lot of time invested in it and a lot of software choices and, you know, things like that. But no matter what your process is or how you do your thing, you know, it's just it's really more. I find it's really just more about time spent on preparation than anything else that gets, you know, everything sort of done solid.
Yeah.
and you know, that kind of thing.
I'm a big procrastinator.
Well, that's an entirely other thing too. I mean, that's a whole other beast.
Okay, we won't talk too much. I want to mention a comment. James said, Konar Ultra Drawer has been good to me. It's very black. He says it's kind of plasticky. See, that's
what I was.
You said that.
Yeah.
Actually in the chat.
But it's just I find it's a high maintenance ink if you leave whatever your dispenser of it is open to the air.
Yeah.
But that's because it's a reformulation of one of their old rapidograph inks. So, and those inks are supposed to be plasticky. I mean, they were designed to be used on vinyl or drafting, film and stuff like that. So that's not a problem. It's just, but you just got to work with it. Yeah,
that's why I stay away from that kind of stuff. That's why I don't mind Higgins. It's very water based. It's very easy to work with. If you want black, you might have to do a couple layers. Big deal. It's like, I don't mind it in the least. When I started working on comics, it was as an assistant who filled in black areas. So I'm kind of used to it and very quick at it. So it doesn't bother me to do a couple layers. But okay, so I want to mention that we'll probably end this soon. So if you want to do any last comments, I'll let Greg go first.
Comments like
if you just want to tell people where to find you online, if you want to point people to anything.
Yeah, sure. So just because my website has been going down and different weird stuff has been going on, I decided to add a step, and now I'm at Flameape, Flameape. Wait a minute. You know what? I'm just going to do this. Because I thought I had a lower third graphic because I made it and I set it up, but doesn't seem to be working. So here. So if you go to flameape.about.me, that's a launch page that can get you to everywhere else that I am, like my Facebook artist page, my Twitter, which I don't do anything with anyway, my YouTube account, my website, all those different places. And there's also a portfolio that is outside of my website that you can go to that's rock solid, so that no matter what, people can see my art. So if you go to Flameape, flameape.about.me, it's like a calling card site, and it just pushes off to anywhere else where I am on the web.
Oh, that's such a good idea.
It is.
It's in fact, I'm going to be making Gregory C. Giordano.about.me as well, because I'm going to be switching out of Flameape and getting into branding just my name. I think it's kind of time to start doing that. Take a page out of Palmiotti's book.
Good. I was planning on switching to Flameape, so.
Yeah, and Jason Brubaker schooled me on that when I was on one of his live chat, hangouts that I got to be part of, and he was like, "You really need to start just pushing your own name, man. Like all this moniker stuff, it muddies the waters." And
what do you do if someone shares your name?
Shares my name? Well, I know there is a Gregory Giordano who's a very popular puppy kitty U.S. stamp artist out there. But that's, if you do Gregory C. Giordano and you do Flameape, they still come up. I'm pretty much usually the top half of any Google search page. So, and I see less and less of him. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that's where it gets funky.
I can imagine like Jason Brubaker. It's like a popular name, common name.
Yeah, but I mean, the only Jason Brubaker comics that ever comes up is him, and as an artist, I mean, he's the biggest search Jason Brubaker on Google by far, I'm sort of feeling like it's time to start moving out of the moniker phase, because what it does is it productifies a thing that's not me, and then I have to introduce people to who I am, and I think that's not really helping.
No.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's easier if you have one name across the board, websites and everything.
yeah, so I'm going to be starting to move that in that direction.
Cool.
But don't worry, Flameape's trademarked and it's totally protected, so I can squash anybody who tries to IP squat on it.
Does the government know that? It's totally protected. There we go. More messages coming in. All right. So, Sandy, what do you got going on? That looks gorgeous, by the way.
Oh,
it's really good. So it's real tight.
I'm actually really enjoying her. I'm spending a lot more time on her than I have in a long time on any art. I'm just Darkenmarr pretty much on everything. Yeah, it's my moniker. Like on Instagram, I think it's Darkenmarr Arts, but everywhere, like I'm the only Darkenmarr out there.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like if you look up Sandy Cheairs or Sandra Cheairs, there's like 4 or 5 of us.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm just kind of like, as far as what I'm currently working on, I have another convention coming up in September, I think, end of August. It's San Japan down in San Antonio, Texas. And so I created a list of all this artwork to do, and these big-headed dummies were stupid popular for some reason. So I'm gonna be doing a bunch of them. And
whatever sells, right?
Right. Yeah, it's like I was really surprised. It's kind of like the thing that you don't much care for gets the most attention, and then the stuff you love the most doesn't get enough attention in your eyes.
Yeah. Do you guys know Jonathan Rector?
Yeah.
He is currently doing chibi versions of superheroes and whatnot, which are gorgeous. But I mean, he's been working on comics, and he has a big following, but he still wasn't getting people to his comics. But he does these chibi things, and all of a sudden he's super popular again.
Yeah, exactly. It's like can't you guys like my other stuff that I try a little bit harder on?
Yeah.
But like these,
and you know why? Because most people who buy things, most people who are just consumers purely, many of them are visually and culturally tone deaf, and that's not like that they're bad people, right? But the fact is that a hell of a lot of people go to see a really crappy film that we all know is really beneath even them, because that's entertaining, right? And I think that's just the deal, is that most people, like how you go to shows, right? Because you're doing shows and too, and how many times do we see vendors who are selling hand over fist and their work is actually subpar? It's actually
exactly that's the stuff I was running into. It's like this stuff.
It's like bad deviant art or something.
Yeah, but they're like raking in all the money, and it's like admittedly, I only spend maybe 2 or 3 hours on each piece of this Bobette stuff, but
no. But the fact is the artwork that you're doing is literally 10 times better than a lot of the people we're both talking about.
Yeah, but it doesn't sell. It's
right now, yeah, and that's because actually I have this theory, and some people who do a lot of con sales have been saying they think maybe there's something to it, and here it is. It's like this: when somebody buys badly done art, inferior art, I think that on a subconscious level there's a kind of space in their head where they're like, oh, this is almost something I could do, and so it's almost like they kind of gravitate towards it. Also, the subject matter is exactly on with what they want. So then there's this weird combination of well, if I spent 2 months, I could draw that drawing, and it's a drawing of a character I like, and then it's sold, because it's almost like there's some narcissistic quality to the purchase.
Yeah,
that is true.
I don't know if that, I'm not sure, but I'm suspicious of it, particularly in the sort of anime cartoon kind of world of sales. I don't know if that's true across the board, but you know, there's something about simplistic stuff that draws people in, and they go and they, oh, that's really great. And then you have somebody next to you and they're like, you know, they're better and they're not selling and you can't figure it out. And I think that may be one of the reasons there's some sort of highbrow, lowbrow thing happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so frustrating.
Oh, it's got to be terribly frustrating, I would think.
Yeah,
But
it's to the point where it's like, why even try?
Right.
Like what I was mentioning to Peter earlier, it's like I try so hard on my artwork, but it's just deny. And it's like, why do I keep even trying?
Well, it could be also that there may be something substantive in your style, not quality, obviously, but the style of what you do, that when it's buttressed up against the subject matter, it's not hitting it for that crowd. But if there was something else that you were doing, a different type of style, different type of character, not style, different type of subject matter, maybe it would like lightning strike, and then suddenly people would start like wanting tons of it. You know, and that's the problem with entrepreneurial type stuff, is that there's a lot of throwing stuff up against the wall before you find out what the mix is. I think.
Yeah, that's why I've been doing a ridiculous amount of like fan art lately, because it's the only thing that
you know it's a sale.
Yeah.
No, it makes sense. I mean, it's really. You have to do it, and you know, there's a good side to that, right? Because the thing is, if people start buying your work on multiple runs, like, you know, like there's those like 4 people, they're always buying your work. If they're the same, you know, they're constantly buying new stuff from you, then at least then you have the ability to sort of slowly hook them in and start to, you know, maybe even like it wouldn't be bad to say, like with some people that are return customers, what is it about my stuff that you like so much that you're buying it? Like, what is it that's really pulling you in? That might not be a bad idea, instead of it being a mystery, and really just get down to the info and see what they say. Cause
like, what is it that's
like you? Why did you like this fan art that I made? Because you're not like, what about my other stuff? And they may be really honest, you know.
Yeah,
they might
not really even need, because I want to figure it out and know what's going on.
Right, because you want to make money, right? I mean,
yeah, we all want to make money. I mean, you know, it's like have a career that works, essentially. So I hate to cut this short, just as we're all getting heated.
Well, you don't have to. You can allow this to go on. You can allow this to go on and on.
Yeah, I'll just leave you two here and come back and turn it off in about an hour or so. No, I gotta go. People are buying up my attention.
Okay.
All right. You know, I mean, typically, I guess I want to do these like an hour, typically. So if either of you are here next time around, we'll pick up a lot of the threads that we left here, because you can basically cover a whole hour with just so many starts. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, or go follow my friends here for sure. And love you all. And yeah, stay tuned for more videos coming soon.